Clayton Echard opens up about his mental health after filming The Bachelor, saying he's a work in progress. Hey guys, and welcome back to another shared news. We have all the details on Clayton's recent Instagram post. But before we get into it, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on any future videos. I'm Alison Van Dam, joined by the fabulous Zachary Reality. Zachary, how are you?
I'm good. I am definitely fabulous. So, what a warm and lovely introduction.
Good, good. I'm glad. Well, Clayton has taken, ooh, that rhymed, to Instagram, and he shared a photo that Susie took of him one day before filming After the Final Rose. He captioned it saying, quote, "At this moment, I was at rock bottom. I knew what was coming and realized my reality was much further from what I ever had expected. As I looked out the window, I questioned who I was. What had I become? Where did everything go wrong? Why me?" Oof. So definitely a very heavy post. Zach, what did you first think when you saw this pop up on your feed with the very, very long caption and the dramatic shot of him looking out the window?
I love the way you're reading the caption. I want to hear you read the entire thing as a bedtime story because it was a long caption. And I was kind of concerned. I'm like, what is he looking out the window? Because the picture, as he mentioned, it was at rock bottom. It was, right when all of this was happening. But it's just like, what is out the window? Like, what was he staring at? Because when I'm at rock bottom, I have ice cream, tissues, and I'm in my bed hiding from the world. So I'm just curious, like, what is he staring at? But anyway, I like that he is putting out, this statement. I feel like he was kind of looking for some closure with the whole situation. After being the bachelor and having all this backlash, the way he broke up with Rachel and Gabby. So I think he just kind of needed to like let out all of his feelings now that he's had a couple months to kind of process everything.
Totally. Yeah. And I think definitely it was going to be a question I asked you as well of do we wish this would have come sooner? Are we glad he took the time to actually think things through? He mentioned he'd been in therapy. And I'm kind of with you. I think it's more impressive that he's taken the time to really, go through it. He had a lot of haters and he took it in and he processed it. And, now he's, I guess, a better man for it. So he
Yeah.
continued the post by saying, quote, "As I've reflected back on it all now since being out of the spotlight, I've had the ability to see what I couldn't see before. I was too busy trying to defend my actions and my character instead of accepting full responsibility for not only what I had done, but for who all I hurt. Often we are so concerned with explaining ourselves that we don't realize the explanations sometimes hurt more than the actions because they appear as excuses and nothing more." I definitely feel like we've seen this defensive side of Clayton that he was talking about. And what originally comes to mind for me is the fight, the breakup with Susie that we saw on the season. She
Mhm.
came to him with concerns about him being intimate. It was a lot of deflecting. It was putting it back on her, saying, "Why didn't you tell me this sooner?" As opposed to him kind of really just internalizing the responsibility he had for her feelings and her hurt. So I definitely see the side he's talking about. Do you agree with that? Have we seen it in other things? Maybe, when the TikToks came out about him potentially cheating, maybe you could call that
Yeah.
defensive as well, or maybe just protecting his reputation. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that fight that he had with Susie during fantasy seasons was really dark, and we saw this different side of him. However, I feel like that was a one-time thing for him because he was
Mm,
put in this situation with cameras, producers, people manipulating him day in and day out. I mean, if he got into this, fight with Susie and he spoke to her like that in the real world, then I think we would have an issue. But I'm taking in all factors in that he truly believes that in that moment Susie was leaving him to become the next bachelorette and she just played him. So I feel like that's kind of why he lashed out at her. And I think we'll hear more about that eventually when his contract comes up. We kind of see this pretty often with bachelors where they're finally able to share their real sides of the story after a year or after 2 years. Matt James has a new book coming out and he just called out the bachelors. He said that they had to stick to the script when during the after the final rose with Rachel, and they actually left together hand in hand, but it didn't make camera. So I think there's going to be some big revelations Clayton reveals in the next couple of years when he's allowed to. But for now, we have this authentic, genuine apology and, explanation to his behavior. And I mean, I don't think it's better late than never or any of that kind of stuff. I think whenever he was ready to express his feelings and he was able to process things, I'm glad that he's sharing it because I don't think he had to share this if he didn't want to. Because it seems like a lot of people have moved on and a lot of people are rooting for them now as a couple. It's been a couple months. We're going to get ready for the next Bachelorette season. So I'm just happy to see that Clayton is in a good, mental health place in his life now.
I completely agree. And I like what you said about, maybe this was a one time thing due to context, due to being on the show, having all these factors that a normal relationship wouldn't have. And I think what's interesting about them now is I've met Susie, absolutely adore her. She's so independent. She has such a great head on her shoulders. I don't think she would put up with that if that was really something happening behind closed
Mhm.
doors. And she has nothing but, great things to say about Clayton. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this had a lot more to do with the circumstances they were in versus him as a person. Maybe he's not, normally defensive. He doesn't normally, you know, deflect everything like we saw happen on the
Mhm.
show. Um, and you also spoke about, Clayton coming out, talking about mental health, being vulnerable. He did hashtag the post mental health, and he let his followers know that he's been in therapy since the show. So he continued writing,
Good.
quote, through therapy and other means of self reflection, I have been able to finally see the reality of what all I had done. I never forget to give myself grace, as we all should do for ourselves. But I am a work in progress and always will be because perfection is impossible to obtain, but we can all be better than we were the day before. So that's what I'll continue to strive to do. So yeah, as I've said before, I appreciated the vulnerability and being honest and forthcoming with this. I wonder if part of that has to do with his relationship with Susie as well. She's definitely more the artistic type. I think even we saw with their comments after the TikTok scandal, the alleged cheating, she really
Mhm.
gives people grace. She is a go with the flow person. And, maybe him being a professional athlete, going into medical sales, he's more, strives for perfection in everything he does. So I wonder if maybe she's having this positive influence on him to give himself grace, to go more with the flow, to not need to be perfect to be loved and accepted. Have you been
Mhm.
in a situation like that before? Have you dated someone who like helped you become a better person or changed your point of view on things?
I mean, absolutely not. I have not dated anyone, but I do hear this a lot in relationships. When you find the one, that person makes you want to be a better person. I feel like that's like an old saying that we've heard for years and years and decades. And it really feels like Susie was that for him. They've shared their relationship on social media. She's been posting on TikTok. They seem really happy, and Clayton seems like he finally is in a happy place. It was a dark time for him. It wasn't long ago when we were reporting on the fact that Clayton was terrified for the backlash he was going to receive, and then he was getting buried for weeks and weeks. So I really feel like, Susie has helped change him and he's learned from his mistakes and he's moving forward. And it's like, no one is perfect at the end of the day. We all lash out, we all make mistakes. It's really about holding yourself accountable and growing and learning so that you don't make the same mistakes in the future. We're not defined by our past mistakes, we're defined on how we grow from them. And it seems like Clayton has shown a lot of growth even in just a couple months' time. So I'm super happy for him and I'm proud of him. And I'm just excited to see what's next for the two of them. It looks like they just got to Virginia Beach and they're going to be living together and making things work. So, I mean, maybe we'll get an engagement by the end of the year. I have, all the highest hopes for hashtag Clacy.
Ooh, Clacy, I like that. Yeah, I do too. I think they look really, really happy together. And I'm glad that Clayton's being outspoken. He talked with Nick Vial this week about, going through body
Mhm.
dysmorphia and dealing with that. So maybe the mental health component pairs well with that. Maybe we'll see a new platform from him, maybe a company, messages. I could see him really diving into that because it feels like something he's very passionate about. So it doesn't surprise me at all that he is, opening up, letting people in, letting us know exactly who Clayton is when he's not our bachelor and he's not on our TV screens. But that is everything we have for you guys today. Let us know down in the comments what you thought about the post. If you are also rooting for Clacy and you're looking out for that engagement ring like Zach and I are. And before you go, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on any Clayton and Susie and Bachelor updates. I'm Allison Van Dam. I was joined by Zachary Reality, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
See ya.